afternoon, I'm June. We're not doing the mascot stuff today because today we've got a sketchbook tour. A different kind of one though. I've done a couple sketchbook tours on this channel before, but those were very focused. Like the ᴬᵐᵃᶜᵏ one was entirely about like remaking a storyboard from years ago, and I've done like the Wanted by Beasts one, the furry one, and the Prism reboot one. Those were all very like focused on an end goal, and this one is different than that. This is a sketchbook that I filled out on my annual sabbatical to London for the new year. I've made a tradition out of doing that. This is my 3rd year doing it. And last year, the end of my trip last year is what got me back into sketchbooking again. I was rewatching Miraculous Season 5 with my friend Chi. It was her first time watching it, and while I was watching it, it just like occurred to me, like, I don't know what my art looks like anymore. I feel like I just don't draw regularly. Like, I made illustrations, but I spent so long making all of them that I don't know what it looks like when I'm just shooting the shit. So the last 3 days of that trip, I filled like 70 pages of my sketchbook just drawing heads over and over again, and I've been so sketchbook pilled since then, and my art has never looked the same. So I thought it might be fun this year on my trip to fill a sketchbook and treat it kind of like a journal, and like every page fill it with either things that I'm doing or things that are on my mind. So this is my London travel sketchbook. I was there for 3 weeks, and there's like 250 pages in this thing. I got it a little over halfway full. Some of these pages I did after my final day there, but see, I ended on like 100 page 65. Ah, my setup. Anyway, I thought this would be better to present in a stream of consciousness type style because it's so much less focused. And if you guys absolutely hate that, let me know. I can go back to scripting it. But I'm gonna be doing a lot of traveling this year, and I really enjoyed filling this sketchbook the way that I did, so I would like to do more travel sketchbook videos. If you guys absolutely hate this unscripted style because I'm bad at talking on the spot, let me know. I can fix it next time, or we could keep going with it. Maybe it's kind of fun. Maybe variety is the spice of life. I picked this sketchbook out right before my trip. I got it from a little like Japanese manga book, art book store, and I really liked this shade of orange, but the day before my trip, I tested out like what materials I might want to bring with me, and I found out very quickly that this paper, like, it's not that things bleed through it, it's that this paper's just so thin that you can see right through everything. I was a little scared of that at first, but with my sketchbooks, I really like using like cheap supplies. I like doing things to remind myself, like, it's just a sketchbook, it's not that serious. So I thought, you know, maybe the paper being so weak will be like secretly a plus. You know, this is a messy one for sure, but I don't hate it. This is still the day before my trip, and I was testing like what it looks like if I actually draw on the back of something. These 3 down here, I just redrew them exactly on this side, basically like flipping my canvas and getting to correct it. Poor ḥokuto on this first page, but yeah, we fixed it up there. And then these Sarahs on top, I was seeing how it looked if what I drew on the back wasn't an exact copy. And again, it's kind of messy, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm down with it. Pre-warning, there's going to be a lot of Prism characters in this sketchbook, and if you don't know my Prism story, there's videos about that already. I'm not gonna waste time explaining that. I'm gonna assume that you either already know or you don't care that much. This was the first page of my actual trip. This was done before my flight, so I was just waiting because my flight was in the evening and I was antsy. So before my flight, I just started doing some figure studies off of Pinterest, and this is more of the same. And this is when I arrived at the airport. I have this idea in my head that in Prism, that the actual like Prism headquarters, base of operations will be in an airport, because I've seen a lot of really cool airports, and it's not like they have any other use for the airport once the dome shows up, so I was trying to do studies of those, even though backgrounds are not my jam. Neneko in one of the seats here. Some more airport stuff here based on like photos I took while traveling through them. I think this one's off of Pinterest, maybe, for the sake of variety. This I drew on my first flight. It took me 2 flights to get to London. We were hardly in the air before I was finished with this page and we were landing. But I was just thinking that Apollo pretending to have magic is basically his 3 daughters in a trench coat. So all these. And then this is the only thing that I really drew on my actual like 12-hour flight to London, because they put me in like the emergency exit seat. So like I wasn't allowed to have my carry-on with me. They took my bag. I didn't really have a table, but I drew the site in front of me, and there's little ᴬᵦᵏ shenanigans over here. This was just elaborating more on the drawing from this page, just taking it a bit more to the extreme of their different personalities. And I drew this to document the beginning of my travel woes while experiencing another travel woe. These are ᴠᴦᵏ, so you're supposed to read them like top to bottom. I make this trip every year because Holly invited me out 3 years ago to go to their New Year's party. So I was planning on spending New Year's actually in London partying with a bunch of my friends. I bought my tickets, my plane tickets ahead of time, and didn't realize until, like, here's the beginning of the month, me and Holly realizing after I sent Holly my ticket, we're like, oh, you're arriving the morning of the party. You're gonna be so jet lagged for the party. It's like, yeah, but you know me, I'll make it happen anyway. And I didn't add text here because I didn't plan it out well enough, so I just said, fuck it. But then, like, literally the day before my flight, I was checking my ticket again, and we realized that, no, it's not that I'm arriving the morning of the party. It's that I'm arriving the morning after the party. So I spent my New Year's in the air. Cool, awesome. I'm so bad at traveling. I'm really bad at it. But I was drawing that in the hour that I was sitting waiting for my luggage to get off the luggage carousel. And finally I look up and I realize that I'm the only one there. And that's how I found out that not only did I arrive the wrong day, but right off the bat, they've lost my luggage. All I have with me for this 3-week trip in London is the carry-on on my back, which only has art supplies on it. So off to a terrible start. This whole trip was kind of a disaster. Like every moment I spent with my friends was great, but like traveling was a disaster. When I finally got to Holly's place, we decided to chill out for a bit. We would figure out the clothes situation later. Holly and their roommate and our friend Megan were there. None of them had played mouthwashing before, so I got them to log into my Steam and we played my copy of it, had fun playing mouthwashing. And later that night, we played Needy Streamer Overload, because I didn't realize, like, I'd seen this character all over the place. I didn't realize she was from a game. Hadn't played it before, and we kept getting the same ending at first, where she broke up with us because we weren't, like, paying attention to her, but we're like, we literally are. What are we doing wrong? Turns out, if you leave her on red at any point, even if she's just an emoji, she takes it personally. She's so needy. They did not lie. And then this was the end of, like, technically it was my second day traveling, but it was when I finally got to sleep after everything was going on, just documenting all the woes again. By the way, this is my little ᴠᴦᵏ. It's just a little fucking shape of a Shiba. I've grown past the need for a persona. I admire the mangakas who just draw themselves as funny little blobs, so that's what I do now. The second day of my trip, we were really busy actually doing things, so I didn't actually draw anything. So this was the third day of my trip. We were playing Silent Hill 2, so I was taking some notes over here. I was just kind of catching up, drawing everything that happened the day before. They took me to Primark, so I got my whole wardrobe for the next 3 weeks from Primark. Oh my god, people were horrified by the amount of clothes I was bringing to checkout, and I had to keep explaining to people, no, they lost my luggage! In Silent Hill 2, there's like a brief moment where they look at the wall and like some kid drew bunnies on it, and it possessed me. I needed to draw a bunch of like childish bunnies. Doing stuff like this, trying to draw like a child might, is weirdly difficult, but also very liberating. It's very fun. Love this spread. And then that day, we went to go see a musical, but before the musical, we went to this really cool cocktail bar, and I meant to draw some of the cocktails. I just didn't get around to it. But I saw a man so tall, and it reminded me of how I made a joke before that, in the dome, in Prism, Apollo would definitely be Santa, and Robin was like, he would scare the kids. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why would he do that? But at this cool cocktail bar, I went to the bathroom, and I saw this man so tall, just like who couldn't fit in the door frame, and I got afraid. I was trying to draw that with Apollo, but it just wasn't working out, so I got distracted and I was drawing Lissy's hair instead, because I'm trying to make it look like a mermaid tail. More Lissy, just because she was on my mind, and then Holly and Amy are huge fans of Ruby, so we watched the first season, and the musical that we had seen was 6, so this line from Nora reminded me of the Get Down song. Love that song, so great. So I drew Nora in that costume from that song. And then this is also, this is more Get Down 6 reference. After that, over here, I did some studies of Penny, and I did some studies of Ruby Rose. I kept giving her freckles, I just couldn't help myself. On this page, I made sure that Holly and Amy both drew something for me, so I would have like mementos of them from my trip. On this page, they have a cat named Willow, and Willow is just like a void. She's an imperceivable void. If she looks at you, all you can see are like her yellow eyes, and I was obsessed with her. So I was trying to draw her as just this blob with eyes, and it bled over so badly on the next page that you could like see it perfectly. So the only thing I could really think to do was go over it with cyan, magenta, pink, and yellow highlighters, and I turned her into Absence, like Absence from Prism. And I did more of those over here because I just had a blast. And this is a wedding dress. This is a wedding dress that we kept walking past, and I was absolutely obsessed with it. I have a picture, we'll put it up on screen somewhere. But we walked past it so many times, and I'm just like, I need to draw Apollo in that now. This was my final day of being with Holly and Amy. I needed to take the trains by myself to get to my friend Chi's house, and that was also a disaster. I've done this trip 3 times. This was my 3rd time traveling on the trains by myself, and I've made it just fine the first 2 years, but for some reason this year I was freaking out and I was so lost. We printed the map directions just differently enough that I couldn't read it anymore, and I started panicking between, like I needed to take 3 trains there. Between my 1st and 2nd train, I was panicking because I was like, I already missed my 3rd one. It was gonna cost so much money. And this man comes up to me. I didn't realize how stressed I look. He's like, hey, are you all right? He's like, do you need some help? And I'm like, yes, please. I don't know where I am. I'm so lost. And he walked away. And that single event pushed me over the edge. I just burst into tears. I don't know if he misheard me and thought I said I was fine, because it is loud down there. But it is also very funny to think that like he wanted to offer to help but didn't expect me to take him up on it, so he just left. But I arrived at Chi's house and she dumped all of her traditional art supplies on me. I saw that there were like these sticky notes that looked like cat paws, and I had to draw ᴑᴜᴜᴜ with them immediately. And then on this page, it's ᴑᴜᴜᴜ again. I just traced him over, fixed him up a little bit. Chi had given me some Christmas gifts. There were some highlighters that looked like these funny little popsicles, so I tried drawing the popsicle with those highlighters. This is Apollo and Cynthia that Chi drew from memory, and then that just set me off, so I had to draw my boy down here. And that night, we started watching Miraculous again, because I just can't help it. We just have the brainworms about it. And this was shortly before disaster set in. These were drawn while I was sick from one of Chibi's art books. Like, it was like an anatomy study book, and I was doing these to try and tide myself over because, oh my god, the night I arrived at Chi's place, I got violently ill. It was so bad. Like, I spent the night sleeping either on their bathroom floor or on their kitchen floor because I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't keep water down, and I was scared to sleep on their bathroom floor for too long because, like, what if one of them needs to use it? So I was just trying to stay near a drain. It was a bad night, and then I went back to these anatomy studies. I got Chi sick like right after me. The traveling was a nightmare this time around. All my time with my friends was great though. When she was sick, I just started pulling some of her manga off her shelf and doing studies of it. So here's My Hero, here's Little Witch Academia. I did not know there was a manga adaptation for this. The style is like spot on. And this is the only one I hadn't seen before. This is Cat Paradise, and I love how this style looks, but like this guy in particular, I don't know who he is, but I love him. And this page, like right after I left Holly and Amy's house, they got a new cat, and her name is Hilda. Her name's Hilda, and I had to draw fan art of her immediately. And I was compelled to draw my funny little trio here. And there's more of them over here, but they didn't make it past silhouettes. And the page after this, Chi was still sick, and we had plans to go hang out with our friend Izzy, Fluffy Lovey. But she was too sick to go, so she sent me by myself. I drew these on the train to go see Izzy. I was like practicing for the thumbnail of the digital sketchbook video that went up while I was on my trip. We were going to see Book of Mormon, so we went to Piccadilly Circus, and I drew this of Piccadilly. While I was drawing it, a bunch of mice just showed up. They were the smallest mice ever. They were so itty bitty, and they just started like hanging out with us. I had to draw a couple of those. And this was a stage for Book of Mormon. I did not know like anything about it going in, and like right as we walk in, Izzy's like, by the way, this is written by the guys who made South Park. And I feel like that was important knowledge to know. Oh my god. It was fun though. This was a scene from Book of Mormon where like one of the characters grabs another's face and he thinks he's gonna kiss him, so he leans in and he gets all embarrassed. But I didn't end up finishing it because we went back to Izzy's place afterwards, hung out with Izzy and her roommate. But Izzy, if you guys know, was a Warrior Cats animator, had a little series with wolves called Unknown Blood, so draws a lot of animals. And Izzy's roommate really likes weather patterns, so we were talking about like how just the things that we draw are so different. And Izzy's like, well, like if I asked you to draw an anthropomorphic rhino, you wouldn't know what to do with that, but I could do it fine. And if you asked me to draw like a volcano, you wouldn't know what to do with that, but I could do that fine. Or the other way around. So I'm like, okay, well now you guys have to do that. So Izzy's roommate drew a volcano and then this rhino in my book. And Izzy gave me their copies. I accidentally forgot them at Cheese House when I flew home though, so I'll put pictures of those on screen. They came out really good, and I wanted to join in at the very end, so these are my little contributions to that challenge that we did. You go ahead, do that. Draw a little anthro rhino and a volcano from memory. No references. See how it turns out. This page was inspired by Izzy's cats. While they were drawing those rhinos, I grabbed a different little notepad, and Izzy has the most amazing cats. This is like fan art of Izzy's cat Merlin, and I was just thinking, I couldn't get the thought out of my head of like Merlin's beard. So I drew a little void cat with yellow eyes like Willow, being a literal like wizard's beard with Lissy here, just because Lissy makes creatures. I don't think she can make black ones like this, but I don't know, we're having fun, we're having whimsy. And then we were watching a bunch of like classic like cat wolf shows that kids make. So we were watching like Unknown Blood, we were watching Cow of the Wild, and I was just filled with the desire to draw tigers. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, there's so many like cat and wolf and lion shows. What if there's a tiger show? What if I did a tiger one? And then,
but what if I did a tiger one? Hi, sorry, pause. I actually thought about this a little more in depth, and she and I got pretty instantly hooked on the idea of a silly little short film that centered around tigers. We thought we'd give making one a try for an upcoming video, so with the help from today's sponsor, ᴬᵐᵏ, here's a little sneak peek into that planning process. ᴬᵐᵏ is a tool for organizing your creative projects. We started off by gathering a bunch of reference images of tigers as they've appeared in things like Korean folk art or Tibetan tigers or the talisman tiger, tigers that have been very heavily stylized to look a little freaky to the modern eye, but are just absolutely gorgeous. Big fan of these guys and their funky teeth and bulbous eyes. The idea is that by studying the warped anatomy and how expressive these tigers manage to be while not actually looking so much like real tigers, will help us to make sure that what we're drawing is readable but doesn't need to be perfect. Like how the Lion King animator spent time with real lions in order to stylize them to stay realistic. But the opposite. ᴬᵐᵏ's ability to pull straight from my clipboard has been really handy in the age of WebP nightmares. So I can just paste in whatever images I find that I want to add, and if I add a tiger that I want to practice right away, I can draw it right on the board. The end goal is to be able to draw a full frame for this short film in about 10 minutes, so having all these references in one place, neat and organized, really helps me to stay motivated. There's not a lot for this project that I can really talk about yet, mostly because it's so early in development, but I'm excited for doing kinda silly short stuff with my friend. And getting to collaborate with her on a ᴬᵐᵏ board helps it to feel a lot more like a real thing we're doing. And I get to shove so many more tigers in her face. Thank you so much to ᴬᵐᵏ for sponsoring. ᴬᵐᵏ is available for free and with no time limit. Sign up using the link in the description and start your next creative project. And I hope to give all of you an update on this soon. Back to the video.
Suddenly I was back in the Wanted by Beasts building. This is a cyberpunk furry bounty hunter story that I have that I visited briefly, and then I immediately got distracted by going into Prism again. But I was having fun making like this tiger character, this little itty bitty tiger. Their prosthetics are like way big arms, and this was also inspired by Book of Mormon, because their depiction of Satan had like these really big arms, but he also had like a little guitar solo at some point, so his hands had to also come out through the middle of his arms, like his forearms, so he could play the guitar, and I just thought that looked really cool. I was drawing this character from Wanted by Beast by memory. His name's Earl Grey, and I wanted to give him, like, he's got braces to go with his really sharp wolf teeth, but also vampire fangs, because he's a vampire werewolf. And I thought it would be funnier to give him those, like, over-the-head, like, old braces, just, like, encompass your jaw. I'm playing around with this design a little bit. I don't entirely know what I want to do with it yet. But I knew that he was supposed to, because Later has this rat guy, he's got his big old, like, rhino brother. I wanted to give Gray an older mentor, too, but I wanted her to be smaller and a bat, so I repurposed a different character of mine. I made her a cute little old lady. Drew more of her over here. I don't usually draw old ladies, but I'm just, like, obsessed with the idea right now. We will come back to the idea of this in a little bit. This is more Corey and Later. I drew them with like Jesse and Walter references over here, and then redrew like John Silver and Jim from Treasure Planet over here. So like Breaking Bad references, Treasure Planet references, just redrawing them with my characters entirely, because that it just takes the stress off sometimes. It makes it easier to doodle. I miss these guys. I miss them a lot. So a little bit more of Later, Gray, and Press is their name. Precision, Press for short. A little bit more. I was trying to figure out their bangs. It wasn't turning out the way I wanted. I'll have to play with it digitally sometime. And then, she finally joined back up with us again. She walked in the door and was like, Apollo's kind of the Fibonacci spiral. Drew this, drew this in honor of us having both been sick. Thanks so much. I definitely needed to see that of Apollo. Was just drawing different Apollo poses over here, but we started watching, what's it called, Zoolander? And this character, like the villain character in Zoolander, Mugatu, he had at one point this outfit where it was like a sweater with a corset with his name on it, and I was obsessed with it. I needed Apollo to be in that. This Chi took my sketchbook and drew Apollo in it. I'm so blessed. She drew my baby. So I also had to draw some Apollos. I did some headshots of him over here, and Chi's foot was in my face, so I started drawing over it with highlighter, and then just to see if we could, I pressed the book to it, and we got a little toe print over here. So glad that's there. Izzy drew her 3 cats doing like a barbershop quartet thing, very cute. And then also wanted to leave a little toe print to mark the page. Great signature. And this was based on when we were watching Unknown Blood, which is Izzy's, the wolf series that they made as a kid. She made a joke that like this series is wolves dying and the other wolves being sad about it. I'm like, oh, it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse show. If the zombie apocalypse happened with wolves, but the zombies were just more wolves, and we were just losing our shit over that for days. I think if I said it to Chi right now, she would start laughing again. And I can imagine Lily saying that, my little character Lily. Over here, Izzy drew Apollo for me. Drew him perfectly, my silly, silly boy. I tried not to draw on the backs of pages where like friends drew stuff for me because I didn't want to ruin them at all. This page, oh my god, so Izzy tried to take us to Domehenge. God damn it, I did it again! Stonehenge! So, we're trying to take us to Stonehenge, and I made the Domehenge joke, and now I can't stop saying it. Izzy was trying to take us to Stonehenge, and we parked, and we had to, it was like an hour drive. We parked, and we had to trek to get all the way there. It was gonna be like a half an hour walk. And we start walking, and immediately, because it's all cold and wet, because it's January in the fucking UK, the ground was like clay, and it's cold and wet, and very quickly, it became like the texture of walking through a very, very, very wet litter box. And I didn't want to spoil the fun, but I was about to have a bit of a meltdown. I was about to freak the fuck out, because it was freaking me out. I hated the texture of it on my shoes. Ugh.
You can see him on the horizon there.
I can show you Woodhenge. That is literally right by where you
Look at this, is the grossest mud.
And this guy walks past us, so he was returning from Stonehenge, and we're like, oh god, this clay. And he looks at us and just like deadpan, he's like, it gets worse. And we just turned around and we left. So instead of going to see Stonehenge, Izzy took us to go see Woodhenge, which was nearby. If you haven't heard of it before, Woodhenge is just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a similar kind of structure, but it's not made of wood. It's more concrete. It used to be wood. They removed the wood and they have like concrete slabs in its place. Woodhenge was hype. We loved Woodhenge. I am learning so much about Woodhenge. Woodhenge. Editors, pixelate this if the sticky note isn't enough. But we got back to their house, to Izzy's house, and we were watching the Miraculous movie. I've seen it so many times, and every time Disheveled Gabe came on screen, we just started all of us, and Izzy's like, give me the sketchbook. So I gave Izzy the sketchbook to draw things that shouldn't have been drawn, but listen, good memories. we had to start avoiding this page when we were flipping through in public, and I tried covering it up, and I think you can still see it. Over here, I was drawing, Izzy drew one of their Unknown Blood characters. This is like I don't know the actual word for it, but like a warrior cat's medicine cat, but the wolf. And this is like the redesign of her. Her name is Daisy, and then I wanted to draw Daisy, so I'm like, give me a little pose to draw her in, so I drew her over here. after we watched the Miraculous movie, we watched Trolls 3 again. I love Trolls. I love the Trolls franchise. I've seen Trolls 3 so many times. I've watched it at least 3 times this month. So I drew me and Chi to the song that Viva and Poppy sing, because that's our song. And we love Branch. We love Branch. He's our husband. Izzy's roommate took my sketchbook again and drew this more weather patterns. I think this might be another volcano. He knew exactly like what this was. I don't know nearly as much about weather as him. Izzy described it as he's got the weather autism, and I think that's awesome. And then this was when we got back to Chi's place. Chi went to bed immediately. She was exhausted from all the traveling. And I was hanging out in the living room with Chi's fiance, who's recently gotten into art. And he turned to me at some point and he asked me for help drawing something. But the way he phrased it was so fucking funny that I had to draw it out. And here's me helping him with those up here. Continuing on from this page, I was kind of art blocked. All of these pages were filled in just like a couple days. And I felt on top of the world doing all these, but you know, every high comes with a low. So I didn't really know what to draw after that. I was doing more of those like childish bunnies. I thought that might help me get back into it. And then I felt like revisiting my old bat lady felt like revisiting her. So I started with some studies of bats. And this is more bat studies. I opened up cute old ladies on Pinterest and I drew 2 of those, and this one, my Pinterest accidentally refreshed and I never found this photo again, so I didn't finish it. And then we decided to put on Ghibli movies for background noise, and I realized, oh, these are the perfect references. So I drew Dola, did a bunch of Dola studies from Castle in the Sky. She's my wife, my queen. She's my everything. I want to be just like her when I'm older. And then we watched Howl's Moving Castle explicitly so I could keep up with my old lady studies, and I drew a bunch of Sophies. These, by the way, are going back and forth between drawing the reference, drawing from the reference and drawing the reference from memory, and like slowly building it into locking it into my memory so I can draw it more often. So after all those pages of studies, these Dola and Sophies, I did these just from memory, just straight off my head. And then I redrew Frankie with everything I had learned. Frankie is the old bat lady's name. These were some of Chi's OCs. These are from Manic, if you guys have ever heard of Manic. I love Manic. Bring Manic back. I love it. And on this page, we had gone to the art store, the local art store. I got a bunch of new highlighters. I was swatching them all out. And then she was showing me the Uzumaki anime. So I just started doing spirals just to have my hand doing something. On these next pages, I do like how these turned out. While I was with Izzy going to see Book of Mormon, someone had just left a magazine out. So I picked it up and I took it with me. And I've seen a lot of people in their own sketchbook tours do collage pages, and I wanted to try that. So I took this magazine and I found a kid's Pokemon magazine in a store, so I bought that too and I started chopping things out. And I think the magazines that I got were both unfortunately not good for collage purposes, but I did what I could with them, and I do like how this turned out, and I think it's a fun little spread. The Shadow Milk update dropped. The Shadow Milk update dropped in Cookie Run, and Shadow Milk. Oh my god, I love him. I wanted to draw a bunch of toxic yaoi. Here was I had the idea in my head of doing an illustration with them. So this was me thumbnailing different pose ideas. Over here, I was trying to again, figure out which one would be better to do on this kind of page, and trying to make sure it was something that I could draw right on the first time, because when you have pens, you can't make mistakes. And I had this glittery bow that I wanted to use that she had wrapped my Christmas gifts in. So I was trying to plan how I could do the illustration while also gluing this bow to the page in a way that it wouldn't have to interact with the clothing too much, so it wouldn't be too hard to paste in. It was a very ambitious idea, and I had to give up on it. So I just moved on. I just did studies of SSwartzwälder, also from Cookie Run Kingdom, because he's gonna be relevant in a future video. He's fun to draw. I love that guy. And over here, this is more of Chi's OCs. This is Aki, also from Manic. And down here, I tried to draw her from memory in the Unknown Blood style. This is the first attempt and the second, the classic Unknown Blood style. This spread, I was trying to play with Reese and Sarah's Magical Girl designs from Prism. And I'm struggling with them, but I'm working on it. And I think we were already drunk at this point. We were drinking together. I had many libations. I was trying to draw Neneko, and everything was just going sideways. I was scribbling. This is this is a Spectrum from Prism. Her name's Jeanette, and I was trying to just draw patterns over here. I didn't get very far into it. And then I gave my sketchbook to Chi, And she started drawing, this is her character Aki again, and then this is Aki as a prism. And then while we were just yapping the night away, she started drawing my prism characters on sticky notes and giving them to me, so I put them in here. And I loved them so much. This day, we went to go see a double feature. We were gonna see Mufasa, and then we were gonna see Sonic 3. And we weren't planning to see Mufasa at first, but she loves the Lion Guard and heard that at the end of Mufasa that Simba had a son, and she was like, it's Kion, we gotta go see it, but we have to start with Mufasa and end with Shadow 3 so that we... God damn it! Sonic 3! Robin keeps calling it Shadow 3, and I think that Robin's ruined me. We wanted to start with Mufasa and end on a high note. And listen, Sonic 3 was the high note. Like, Mufasa was not a good movie, but it was fun. It was very fun, and the songs are stuck in my head. I actually liked a lot of the songs. So here, I just redrew some screenshots with slightly more stylized versions of Taka and Mufasa. This was more Shadow Milk. We're approaching the end of my trip here. I think I drew these on the train to the hotel to get closer to the airport so that I could just leave right away in the morning of my return flight. I was just drawing Shadow Milks, and then did some boxes because we're on a train and what am I supposed to do? And then we arrive at the hotel, and she challenged me to draw Apollo in my old style, and I was a little scared to do this. I think he came out cute, honestly. I think adding detail to his hair is a difficult thing to do. I think it's a challenge, and I think he looks so baby with this kind of face, but he turned out cute. I like him, and I drew him normally over on this side. And this page, I drew this one. This is Apollo and one of Chi's manic characters. These are both very, very tall men with very, very dead wives. And she drew him again. His name's Jerry, and drew Jerry and Apollo making out. And then she's been wanting to draw... I ran out of storage space on my phone. Hold on. Sorry about that. I ran out of storage. She had been wanting to draw this scene for ages of hypothetically Aloe discovering what's in Apollo's glasses, that he's got a copy of her dead mom in there. She wants the drama, and I also want the drama. And this was the last thing that she drew for me. It was a little farewell thing. I missed you so much. I miss you, my love. I can't wait to see you again soon. This was my final day at the airport. At the hotel. I drew her little hotel breakfast just to have something to do with my hands while we were talking. And then when we got to the airport, it was a huge, huge airport, and they had conveyor belt sushi there. I'm like, I just had breakfast and it's too early to have conveyor belt sushi. I sat down and I drew it for a bit until enough time had passed that I thought it was appropriate that I could go actually eat there. And I decided to draw it while I was also sitting there because they were having a hard time getting me the bill, so I was just sat there for a while. And afterwards, some of the last things I did, after we saw Sonic 3, I really wanted, I've never really been a Sonic person, but I really like the art style, and I thought it would be really fun to do. So these were some studies of Sonic, and these were more studies of the main three characters. This was the first thing I did when I actually got on the plane. And when I sat down and started drawing these, I was sat in the middle row of this cross-ocean flight. So there's 4 seats in the middle. I'm at the very end, so I'm in the 4th seat. And the guy next to me taps my shoulder and points at the person who's in the first seat. It's so loud on planes. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but someone was trying to talk to me and started pantomiming things, and I got the impression that they were saying oh, I like what you're drawing. I'm like, oh, thank you. This is foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a literary device in which over here, I drew Knuckles, and then after all those studies, I finally started drawing them, from memory, off the dome, as it were. I think Knuckles might be my special little boy. I think I really like Knuckles. More of them over here where I drew them with the highlighter blobs, and then I went back and started adding lines to them afterwards. And this 12-hour flight was taxing. I was exhausted. After that, I drew, I had the video downloaded of the Doijin Swift Brooklyn Nine-Nine animatic with Sonic characters, and I did some studies of Knuckles from there because they made him look phenomenal, and I want to learn how to draw like that. And I thought, I can't let my final pages in this sketchbook just be Sonic. So I did a couple more drawings of Prism character interactions. And when I got off the plane, I was so tired. I was exhausted, and I had to go pick up my bags to go through customs, and I had one more flight to do still. And I'm like, at this point, like, they never got my bag back to me. They did not get my bag back to me while I was on that trip, and I spent so long trying to track it down. It was a whole saga in itself. I don't think we have time to get into it here. I get to the baggage claim, and I just plop down on the floor. I'm like, they might not even have my, what if they lost it again? So I just sit down on the dirty floor, and the person who's standing right next to me, who I just sat down next to on the dirty, dirty floor, leans down and like taps my shoulder, and she goes, "Hi, do you have an Instagram?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's you! You're the person that I was sitting in the same row with. Yeah, I could totally give you my Instagram." And she hands me her phone, and I type in the first letter of my username, and my name pops up. I'm like, "Oh no!" And I hand her phone back to her, and she was so sweet. She's like, "Oh my god, I've been following you for 8. I just watched your new video. This is so cool. Oh my god, can you sign my sketchbook?" So we had a fun little conversation. She was super sweet. Had a great time meeting you, Hannah. Thank you so much. I thought this was like the perfect way to end this sketchbook. And this is the final page of my traveling. I didn't draw anything on that last flight. I was just too exhausted. I got home and I slept for like 2 days. 2 days straight afterwards. I was so tired. But I have like filled like a couple pages since then. I have been like, I'm tiger pilled again. I just kind of, I have this funny idea. Like, what if I made like a early 2000s tiger show in MS Paint or something? I don't know. I probably won't do that, but a bitch can dream, you know? And Chi and I have still been like getting on call and watching trolls together and enjoying drinks. And I was scribbling their characters, or their character over here while drunk, and I drew Apollo over here. These are our fucked up little dads. And this is a doodle of Neneko and Haru from Manic, just for fun. I think this is the last page, but these are some redesigns of some characters that I've been wanting to use on the channel. They're like in my little Patreon things, the $2 and the $5 tier banners. I've been thinking about redesigning them to be more shaped, to be more like how I drew Willow before. But that is the end of this sketchbook, of this London travel sketchbook. Again, let me know how you feel about this unscripted format. In February, I've got 2 different flights that I'm gonna be doing, because I'm gonna be visiting my friend Rosie for her birthday, and then I've got a Japan trip coming up. I've got a lot of traveling, so I'd like to do a lot more travel journals like this. And if I should script them in the future, let me know. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much to my patrons. $2 a month gets you access to everything we work on. Mostly Prism things. I'm very Prism pilled right now. $5 a month, you get access to our twice monthly live streams. And $10 a month gets your name at the end of my videos, handwritten just like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you later. Goodbye!